Yeah, I'm like, oh God, oh my God. Bitch, I run the game, y'all just commentate from the side. I'm like, oh God.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 7.0.3 Demonology Warlock. And first things first, I'm going to actually add a table of contents here so you guys can click and go to the exact spots that you want to know about. But that said, we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to start with the major changes that have been made to Demonology, kind of going from the last patch to this patch. So we're literally just going straight into it. And I actually want to apologize for the video that I put out, the best Warlock spec for the 7.0. Because as it turns out, there's some pretty broken ass shit for Demonology that was completely, I just completely overlooked it. So I'm sorry about that. I didn't take the video down, but I privatized it, and I really don't want people going around thinking that Destruction is currently the best, because it's not. But let's jump into it. The Demonology changes. There's no metamorphosis anymore. If you didn't know, there is no meta anymore. You don't turn into a demon. You don't have crazy demon abilities like Chaos Wave and Immolation Aura. That is completely gone. So that said, all the meta abilities are now gone with the exception of Doom. So Doom is actually the only ability that was available through Metamorphosis that you retain, and it is your main dot now. So Demonology is more of a summoner class now. You're going to summon up demons, you're going to buff them, and then you're going to watch them do all the damage for you. Some other major changes. Hand of Gul'dan is now cast time and summons imps, guaranteed. The number depends on how many shards you use on it, 1 to 4 shards. And then, like I said, Doom now deals damage at the very end. It no longer is going to deal damage over a very long period of time. It's just going to deal the damage at the end of the dot's duration. So, pretty important stuff. Next, we're going to jump into the stat priority. Now, this is taken from a couple different places, sims that we have run here between myself and Revan to kind of help determine stat priority, as well as some things that we've seen just around on Twitter and on Icy Veins, things like that, to determine stat priority. One thing you need to know about all the Warlock specs right now is they are all really benefiting from haste. Haste is actually the best stat for us aside from intellect right now. And then for Demonology, it's actually going to go mastery equal to crit and then versatility. So really you should be kind of focused on haste for this patch. And then we're going to jump actually right into enchants and gems. So the gem that you're going to want to be putting in every single socket that you have available is going to be the Immaculate Haste Talidite. Now, depending on the server that you're on, these can be extremely expensive right now because haste is very, very good for a lot of classes during this patch. Demonology really benefits from it in cast times, mainly your own, really. Just getting that haste out there, it makes your Doom go quicker, so you're going to get the damage from that a little quicker. And that said, because of that haste gem, really, every enchant that you are using should be going Gift of Haste as well. There's Breath of Haste as well, which is a little bit cheaper, but obviously not as good. And then the weapon enchant is Mark of War Song. That is the haste enchant as well. So I'll actually have all of those listed with the tooltips, things like that, so you can easily find them if you have to search them in the game. But I promise you, they're very likely going to be relatively expensive on your server. And then next, we're actually going to jump into something very important, and that is going to be trinkets. So one thing that I want to mention just up front when it comes to trinkets is with the current build in 7.0.3, you have to have the Fragment of the Dark Star for Demonology, especially for single target. There's pretty much no getting around it. If you don't have it, then this build will not work for you, and Demonology will not be nearly as strong as it is with the trinket. Now, if you don't know why, with the mythic trinket, for example, when you cast Hand of Gul'dan, it has a 62% chance to summon 3 wild imps. Now, as you guys may know, with your demonic empowerment, you can actually buff those imps. And the reason that this set bonus is so powerful is because it reads, when your wild imps cast Fellfire Bolt, which your wild imps summoned from your class trinket do that, you have an 8% chance to summon a demon from the void to assist you in battle. Now these demons, and I'm going to show you some numbers, these demons do a fuckload of damage, especially because, once again, you can buff them. So this combination of your set bonus and your Class Trinket is incredibly powerful right now. Unfortunately, it does make up for some pretty lame gameplay. So that said, the other trinkets that you should consider is on demon fights, the Orb of Void Sight. It's pretty much unbeatable on a demon fight, something like Fel Lord. And then we actually have several other options. The Chipped Soul Prism from Doomlord Kazakh is actually not bad because it just has consistent stats. It's not RNG based. You will always have those buffs constantly while using the trinket. Sandman's Pouch, I've seen in a couple instances, a couple different parses, but I don't think it's going to be very widely used. DSI is still used by a lot of people, I think mostly in part because they don't have anything else. That's the Desecrated Shadow Moon Insignia. Definitely not a bad trinket, but it is pretty RNG and doesn't tend to line up with things very well because Demonology currently is very consistent damage, pretty much no matter how you spec it, unless it's AoE, of course. So DSI is not fantastic for it. And then the Iron Reaver Piston I've actually seen used in a couple instances, a couple different fights, single target stuff mostly. But yeah, that said, there's one kind of last thing that I want to jump into before we go to the rotation, and of course that's got to be talents. So there are, I consider there to be about 5 different ways that you can build a class, especially Warlock. So I'm actually going to show you a picture here of each different talent setup that you can go with and for each different type of fight, and then above the type of fight there's going to be a fight listed to give you kind of an example of what I mean. So first thing we're going to say is the first talent tier is Shadowy Inspiration all the way, every single type of fight, Shadowy Inspiration constantly, because I'll show you why that's necessary. Impending Doom is going to be for single target, 2 to 3 target cleave, and ad cleaving. Something like Archimon would be a good example of ad cleave. You have that primary target, but a bunch of different ads coming out at different times that you need to prioritize. And then Implosion for something like Burst AoE or Semi-Sustained AoE. Semi-Sustained AoE, like it shows here, I do mostly mean something like Shadowlord Iskar, where the ads come out, maybe not so much anymore, but they are out for a little bit, and it's semi-sustained. There's a decent amount of targets as well. So I've seen quite a few people running Implosion. Demons get across the board if you're PvE. PvP, I'm not really here for PvP, so that kind of maybe doesn't apply to you. Then single target, Hand of Doom, 2 to 3 target cleave, Hand of Doom, ad cleave, Hand of Doom, semi-sustained AoE, Hand of Doom. Power Trip is decent for burst AoE, and Power Trip can be okay for single target. I personally am going to go with Hand of Doom pretty much every time. Then the next talent row with your, your Burning Rush and your shield thing and your fucking portal, that's preference. I'm pretty much going to pick Burning Rush all the time. And then the next set of talents is kind of interesting. Grimoire of Service is very good on a lot of fights, especially because your pet has an AoE ability. So even in AoE situations, it's not bad. Grimoire of Synergy, however, is also very good. From what I've seen looking at the logs and the ranks for these 2 talents, it seems to be just preference, kind of whatever you like to do. If you like the playstyle of summoning that second demon and buffing the shit out of it, or if you like the idea of just empowering your current demon with a 40% buff every once in a while, or vice versa, that's really your call. However, the next talent line does seem to correlate directly with it. So when people are going Synergy, they're also taking Demon Bolt. If people are taking Grimoire of Service, they're often taking Soul Conduit. So it kind of goes together. Ad Cleave, I would definitely say Demon Bolt is going to be the way to go. That's what pretty much everyone is using on Argomond, which I, like I said, consider that an Ad Cleave fight for sure. And then sustained or semi-sustained AoE, people are actually taking Summon Dark Glare. I don't really think it matters. I think that's just padding at that point. But people are using it, or Soul Conduit. So there are definitely a lot of options to choose from with Demonology currently. And I'm going to show you a quick, well, not really even quick, but a snippet of the single target rotation. I have altered mine a little bit to change it to how I like it. And as you can see in the video, it does work out pretty damn well. So we're going to skip to that real quick, and I'll show you kind of how the spec plays. So as you can see here, we are here in my garrison as usual. Like I said, I personally prefer the Grimoire of Service and Soul Conduit build. I just really don't like the RNG of Synergy. However, there is some RNG in Soul Conduit. I don't really like Synergy at all. So I'm going to show you how kind of we open with this class, the way that I like to have it built, and kind of how the actual rotation works. And I'm just going to let you know the rotation is like 3 buttons. So the first thing you want to do, because your Demonic Empowerment will give you an instant cast Shadow Bolt or Demon Bolt rather, with Shadowy Inspiration, is you're going to want to precast that Demonic Empowerment. Then the first thing you're going to want to do is immediately cast Shadow Bolt to get a second shard. You're then, with Service, going to summon your Service pet, your Grimoire Doomguard, or Felguard rather, and then you're going to summon your Doomguard and get that one out there here real quick. And then as soon as you have those 2 out, you're immediately going to empower them, which will again give you another instant cast Shadow Bolt. It does it every single time. Then you're going to cast Hand of Gul'dan, as you can see me doing in the video. And as soon as that Hand of Gul'dan goes out, you're going to once again empower. You're going to Shadow Bolt. You're going to Hand of Gul'dan, you're going to empower, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, empower, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan. You don't need to worry about building your Hand of Gul'dan to any stacks over 1. You don't need any more than 1 soul shard currently because of the class trinket. So the class trinket, like I said, at least on mythic difficulty and even lower difficulties, it's pretty good, has a 62% chance to summon 3 wild imps. So your Hand of Gul'dan's going to summon some imps. Then you have an additional chance to summon 3 more, 62% being quite substantial. Then you're going to buff them, immediately get another Shadow Bolt, which in turn gives you an instant soul shard back. Then you're just straight up going straight into casting another Hand of Gul'dan. Sometimes you will get really good RNG and cap out your shards. It doesn't matter. You keep playing exactly the same. Why I said this is lame as shit, you don't even cast Call Dreadstalker. Ever. Like, you don't use it. Like, ever. It's pretty much completely useless. So, as you can see, you literally just, it's 1, 2, 3, dude. Demonic Empowerment, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan. Demonic Empowerment, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan. And you can see I bursted for about 229, 230k, and I'm sustaining 196k right now. Like, that's retarded. And I don't have Lust. I didn't pot. I didn't do any of that shit. So it is incredibly powerful how this is right now. I don't know how I overlooked how retardedly strong this is compared to Destruction, but when you go to your damage breakdown, look at your Vicious Hellhound attack damage. That's from your set bonus from your armor, summoning those dogs that come out and hit the boss. That's doing 30% of my damage. I'm sorry, 20% of my damage. And then Wild Imps, another 20%. And then my pet, another 10%. Then my second pet, you know, like... It's all pets, and you don't have to do shit besides sit there and summon things. So it's pretty crazy how it's playing right now. Once again, I'm gonna put up the picture of all the different builds that you can do for different types of fights. If necessary, I can maybe add at some point the Implosion build, but Implosion is pretty straightforward. Like, you take Cataclysm, you take Implosion. When ads come, you blow your fucking imps up that you summoned with Hand of Gul'dan. Like, it's pretty straightforward. But for most fights, especially if you're trying to do prioritized damage, this is the build that you're going to want to be using. So, yeah, pretty important stuff. And I think with that, honestly, we're going to be wrapping up the guide here. I know it's not the most super comprehensive guide that I've ever made, really, but I think it covers enough of the basics and things like that in order to give you a good idea of how you should be playing this. And I'm not going to take all the credit for the information used in this video. Some of it was taken from Ferdy's Icy Veins guide. There are a couple things on there that I honestly just didn't know about. Mainly trinkets and things like that. So definitely credit to him, and I'm going to link his guide down in the description so you guys can make sure that you have a written form of some of the stuff that I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them down in the comment section below. And if you're still questioning it based on my last video about the 7.0 best Warlock spec, this is the best Warlock spec for 7.0. Unless they change your class trinket or something, which I don't imagine I can't really imagine they will. This is going to be the best class. So thank you guys once again so much for watching. And I'll see you guys later.
Oh my God, everything I do, you know I do it for the squad. I'm like, oh God, oh my God, bitch, I